Hello and welcome to the Comic-Spiracy, episode 169. Again, for the last time, for the first time. For the week of August 4th, 2014. My name is Ryan Higgins, who is here with me this week.
Brodrick.
Omar.
And Charlie.
So, what has been going on? Last week...
A whole hell of a lot.
Yeah. Well, so a little house cleaning here as we start to record this episode. First, this is going to be an extra hopefully double-sized episode. Unfortunately, Toby's not here this week. He was supposed to regale us with his Comic-Con tales, but work has kept him out. So, unfortunately, we won't hear from Toby this week, but hopefully in 2 weeks he'll be back. We're recording an extra long episode this week because I will be out next week, and so we're not recording next week.
Officially out.
Officially
you were
out.
out last week due to the fact that you couldn't leave the bathroom.
I was out last week for bad stuff. So, for people that know, we've talked about this on Facebook and Twitter and crap like that. For people that don't know, you may have noticed if you listen to this podcast that especially this year, I have been more on again than off again, very sick. Mm-hmm. I've had lots of really bad colds, flu, crap like that. And I've normally always kind of had some faction of this, but this particular year has been really bad. After going through a couple rounds of antibiotics and a whole bunch of stuff, sinus infection, ear infection, which basically started like end of April, beginning of May, and being sick constantly since then, they finally took me into the CAT scan and discovered that I have...
a tumor?
No, it's not a tumor, fortunately. Various nasal polyps and other sinus issues that need to be resolved. So I will be going in for surgery this Wednesday.
That's a fancy term for...
Good luck with that, man.
Thank you.
That's a fancy term for taking a drill to your nose.
Hopefully, should be out for about a week. A little bit after that, post-op and recovery time. So I'm taking off through the 18th. So I don't like not being here for a podcast. Don't like not being here for New Wednesdays. But unfortunately, health trumps all. So if you come down to the store, Brock and Marshall will be rocking the register, and they're going to be pulling books next week. So if they screw up, it's them, not me. But we're still going to have an episode next week, just the back half of this episode. So look forward to that. Otherwise, 18th we'll be back with a new episode, and hopefully Toby will be here. It'll be a little late, but we'll talk his Comic-Con trip because I know he had a ton of fun. So partially a ton of fun. Partially it's Comic-Con, so there's no fun to be had. But
but there are always stories.
Oh yeah.
Should have hung out, man.
Should have what?
Should have hung out, man.
When? At Comic-Con?
No, that's what always happens. Like, you leave, and then the party happens after you left.
Oh. Toby left like Monday at like 3 in the afternoon. I don't think he could leave any later. Yeah.
He wanted to make sure he did a pit stop at the Madonna Inn on his way down.
No, I think he just didn't get up till noon, so they kicked him out of the hotel at the last possible moment, and they drove up here. So yeah. Oh, and last week too. I mean, we were literally sitting here ready to record. We were waiting for Bryce and Omar, and I mean, I said why I couldn't record last week. I mean, I felt actually fine in the day, but I had been really sick the last few days prior to that.
I'll attest to this.
And it just got, I just got so bad, just so congested, and I couldn't do anything. I was just.
You were back in the bathroom blowing your nose like every 2 minutes.
I couldn't, not 2 minutes, literally every second. Like, my face was just melting on me. It was disgusting. So hopefully get through this and get to good zero. I have to go to like allergists and crap like that. I have to do like that neti pot stuff. You got to know that, Omar.
Yeah. No, I mean that's stuff that is actually just good for people in general to do if they have bad allergies. Just because when you do the sinus rinse like every night before you go to sleep, I mean it clears out most of your allergens. I think like 90% of the allergens are in your nose. So if you have issues there, you just do it on the regular. I mean, but definitely, do it right.
Well,
use like bottled water, heat it up a little bit, and then just like bust that shit.
Well, it's so bad. I mean, I couldn't do it if I wanted to right now. I mean, what's going on in my sinuses? Like, when they took me for a CAT scan, it's like, oh, your right side, it's full of air. The left side is just solid. It's like we have to physically take those out through surgery, and then you're at zero, and then you clean from that, and you go forward, and it's allergies, but it's everything else too, and I cause infection. And
I think I have something similar because I mean, with my sleep apnea, it's obstructive and stuff like that, and they're like, here, use this nasal rinse, and I'm like, it doesn't work.
Yeah. I mean, it can. It's really difficult. So we're not a medical podcast. We're talking about comic books. We know nothing about science. So we're actually going to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy.
Pseudoscience.
Well, yeah. Talk about fake science fiction. Yeah, we're going to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy, the movie. If you have not, I figure since we're already late in the Comic-Con news, this can't be any later. So might as well talk about Guardians first because that's the newest thing.
Yeah, that shit's exciting.
Well, so huge spoilers. If you don't want to hear Guardians talk, fast forward. We're gonna have some random comic talk and questions this episode. We're gonna kind of take a break and do Comic-Con stuff next week, so there will be a split in the episode. Maybe I can timestamp when we finish our Guardians talk. We'll get to that. But there's a lot to say about it, and we all saw it. So you have been warned. Spoiler warning. And now we're going to talk about some Guardians of the Galaxy.
I know. I'm hooked on a feeling.
So me, Brock, and Charlie saw it opening night. Thursday.
Yeah.
Omar, when did you end up seeing it?
I watched it opening night also. I watched it the first showing over at Mercado.
Oh, okay.
Watched it in 3D on IMAX, and
how was the 3D?
Awesome.
I heard the 3D was actually really good.
It was great.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really not the biggest fan of 3D, but any chance I can watch anything that's close to IMAX experience, whatever, the sound's always better, and I'm really into the sound, and thank goodness I did it because I watched it again today, and I watched it just basic in 2D. And man, when you don't hear like the subwoofer, the sound, the music, feel, all that, the whole just elevated experience, it just is not as impressive.
I really want to see it again, and we're going to go in probably a week or two. But we tried to go the other day, and there were like I want to say 2 to 3 2D showings, no matter what theater I looked in. And the 3D showings, there were like 15 to 20 3D shows. Sure, you can't see it in IMAX standard 2D around here. There's so few 2D showings. Yeah. As someone who hates 3D as a general rule and has a difficult time with it, it really frustrates me that there's so many that they're all 3D at this point.
Yeah, I was a little depressed when we got into the movie theater and just how small the theater they put us in.
Yeah, they put us in like one of the the smallest screens because it was all the rest were 3D. Mm-hmm. We got one of the few 2D showings opening nights, and they were all tiny screens.
Yeah, the 2D showing that I went in was like a basic size, which is kind of the smaller size, but it was a packed house. I mean, everybody was coming in right when the trailers were ending. I was just blown away. I mean, the amount of families that were there, like today at 1, it's pretty incredible.
Oh yeah,
I watched new Star Wars. I had Guardians of the Galaxy. Second time around, encore for lunch. So
you go and I can actually watch it the second time, like pick out stuff, look at the other parts of the screen. And,
spend a lot of time in the in nowhere.
Yeah. Well, let's start not with the plot and all that stuff because I'm sure a lot of people saw it.
For sure.
Let's start with some of the news parts of this. Guardians of the Galaxy originally. We will talk plot and everything here in a few because I'm sure there's a ton to talk about. Guardians of the Galaxy originally was rumored. I think estimates put about $65 million is what they expected opening weekend,
which is decent.
A large part of those expectations had to do with the history of movies opening now and that kind
right.
Of thing,
so. And it was also $175 million opening. Guardians is not Thor. Cap. It has a big push, obviously, but nothing like the push has been big, but.
The way I look at it is if they were expecting like the Avengers, Cap, those kind of numbers, they would not have been opening it now. They would have been opening it towards the beginning of summer.
Right. Yeah. This was, everyone has said from day one, this was by far the biggest risk because this is kind of a crazy movie. It opened...
And yet money is raining from the sky.
So opening weekend, U.S. domestic, $94.3 million, which blows the Bourne Ultimatum, which was $69.3 away, which that was back in 2007, so obviously no 3D. So I don't know, that may be kind of close when you actually go for inflation.
If you average it out with inflation and the fact that they had so many more 3D showings versus 2D.
Yeah, but... what's even better, not necessarily better than that, but what is also amazing is that it did $66 million foreign, bringing it up to $160 million opening weekend. It made a production budget back in one weekend, which that is a success no matter how you cut it.
Well, just from a general onlooker at this point, the amount of Rocket Raccoons and Groots and that kind of stuff that I've seen little kids have. Something tells me merchandise-wise, this movie had already made a lot of its production back just in merchandising.
Well, I'll be curious. I mean, we could talk merch later because there's a few things that a lot of people were obviously, there's a lot of potential for merchandising with this property.
Yeah.
But again, I think you got to look long-term merchandising because if the movie bombs, all the merchandising goes away. I'm sure now they're cranking. The production plants are going crazy on it, but they were probably holding back a little bit.
Oh, I'm sure they were holding back a little bit, but at the same time, they were already doing a pretty good job of selling like the plush rockets,
right?
Just the kind of stuff that they can pre-sale before the movie actually comes out.
Comic-Con, people will buy it. I'm talking like regular stores.
Yeah,
right?
but I'm saying like Target and whatnot already have
them. Right.
That kind of stuff.
But you also got to look at what Disney's done. They have said we actually have a news story kind of about this maybe next week, depending on when this falls in the episode.
2 weeks?
Next week's episode.
Oh, okay.
Because Marvel is clearly, Disney, not putting any money towards X-Men or Spider-Man, or very little towards Spider-Man, but no money towards X-Men for any sort of toy lines or property lines. The fact that there's more Guardians of the Galaxy movie products than X-Men, Spider-Man, and Fantastic Four combined is just boggles the mind.
Go Disney.
Well, look, Disney is in the perfect position. Groot and Rocket Raccoon those are Disney characters, right? Those are characters that Disney knows how to merchandise. Rocket Raccoon especially.
I can see them in Space Mountain.
Sure. Those are characters that are really easy to put into a Disney type of environment. So I expect in the next few months you will probably see more and more of that stuff in Disney stores and Disneyland and the different places that carry those products, especially if they're going to they announce a sequel.
But they
end of the movie
it before they showed the first one.
But they must have known. I mean, they had to have had some idea going in.
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, especially since even before the movie came out, it started to get some like huge traction from like review sites and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Rotten Tomatoes had like 91.
Traction.
Well, so not only a 94 million opening domestic weekend, which is fantastic. Also, again, there may be some last minute reviews coming in, but 92% on Rotten Tomatoes, 175 fresh, 15 rotten. If you don't know Rotten Tomatoes, they basically take each review and say if the review is good or bad. So that's 92% positive. Some are obviously more positive than others, but that is as high as maybe.
Isn't it like one of the highest?
Marvel's had a couple. I think I want to say like Iron Man 2, maybe it was Iron Man 1 had something in the 90s. I want to say maybe Winter Soldier did too. Maybe it was like low 80s or high 80s. But that's as good. 131 reviews, 4.6 out of 5. That's from audience. Again, 96% audience review. Compared to the closest we have, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes had a 91%. So and that's a fantastic movie if anyone hasn't seen that or the first one. So TMNT's at a 38%. Sounds about right. But critical success, monetary success opening weekend. I don't think, at this point, all our hopes and fears were, all the hopes were justified, or all the hopes were justified, all the fears are gone, and now we all look to Ant-Man as the big bomb. Yeah. Ant-Man's the one that's got...
That's going to be the new thing. It's just like, so which one is it going to be? Which one is going to...
Well, when I came out of the theater, it's, again, passive-aggressive, snarky asshole that I am, my posts were like, oh, God, another perfect Marvel movie. How boring. When are they going to surprise us and have a bad movie come out, I'm joking, of course, because they've made a couple bad movies.
They made a great nod to a bad movie at the end of that.
Well, we'll get there later. I didn't care for Iron Man 3, but I'm not going to argue with its success. So, even Ant-Man, with all the weird production problems and crap they've had, I can't see it not being huge and not working. Because,
it could be Marvel's Catwoman.
Well, what are we? Iron Man 1? What are we, 10? Is this the 10th movie? Iron Man 1, 2, 3, Thor 1, 2, Cap 1, 2, Avengers, Hulk, Guardians? 10? Mm-hmm. Am I missing one?
Sounds about right.
I think that's right. They are 10 for 10. If you want to count Hulk as a failure, I mean, I guess you can, but I still think it did okay.
No, it didn't do bad in the box office. It just didn't do phenomenal.
Right. I think that at least with like Thor, Cap, and Avengers, you know, they've really understood what it needs to go into a movie, whereas the Iron Man, it's kind of, you know, follow. I mean, at least they were successful, but I mean, overall, the movie's kind of dipped downward from the first to the last one.
I think so, but obviously the rest of the world doesn't. So
the way I look at a lot of this is there are certain studios that manage to basically franchise the name of the studio, sort of like Studio Ghibli, Pixar. There's a lot of that you start seeing people follow the studio just as much as they follow the actual content, because they kind of get to the point where they have a rep. And most of the time, it's not one bad movie that really kills that rep. It has to be a couple in a row. Yeah. And at this point, Marvel hasn't put out like 3 bad movies in a row, or even 2 bad movies in a row. Even the ones people don't care for, typically that next movie, that person's right back on board.
I don't know the exact numbers for it, but I saw a comment this weekend that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is now the second most successful franchise behind Harry Potter for movies. And there is going to be obviously way more Marvel movies than Harry Potter movies. They're not cranking out Harry Potter movies 3 a year going forward. So clearly Harry Potter movies have probably made more money per movie overall. Obviously those had huge international reach and huge longevity. Marvel doesn't seem to be quite on that same level, because you do have, you know, Cap Thor and Guardians aren't going to pull in Harry Potter numbers per movie, but these movies are all 500 million plus movies. They're not all billion-dollar movies. They're not Transformers, they're not Harry Potter, but they are all wildly successful.
The way I look at it is this: considering they've hit a point in the track record where each movie kind of beats the, like, Cap 2 made a lot more money than Cap 1. Thor 2 made a lot more money than Thor 1.
I mean, Iron Man 3 actually... Didn't Iron Man 3 actually get...
Iron Man 3 made more money than Iron Man 2, which made more money than Iron Man 1. At this point, with sort of their track record and stuff behind them, I fully expect Cap 3 is going to make more money than Cap 2. And if this goes on, it won't be long before each of these Marvel money
before
Disney's
Marvel
just
magic.
printing their own money again.
Yeah.
Well, so we have if you go top 10, I mean, this is US. I mean, I could look at, I don't know if I have a way of looking at international too, but Avengers number 1, Iron Man 3 is number 2, Spider-Man 1, 2, 3 is 3, 4, 5. Iron Man 2 actually made less, but that just may be domestically. Amazing Spider-Man at 8, Winter Soldier at 9, and X-Men Last Stand at 10. Obviously, not all of those are Marvel cinematic movies, but definitely.
I'm just saying that
the sequels seem to make more money than the originals, definitely.
Yeah. And the only one that I'm wondering to see how that shapes up is Avengers 2.
Do you think Avengers 2 breaks the Avengers 1 numbers? I mean,
that's what I don't know. Like, in my head,
well, Avengers
1 was like the first one that delivered that sort of scale with that many heroes, and that sort of creates a certain drive just from people wanting to see, could they possibly do it? And then confirmation, once they did, you go back over and over and over, and it's sort of, you get pulled into the cinematic spectacle, as it was.
Sure.
So I'm curious, because once you get to Avengers 2, a certain amount of that spectacle is worn off, because this is now the second time, and I don't know. I'm sure it will still do close to Avengers 1 numbers. I'm just not 100% convinced it will do more than Avengers 1 numbers.
I think that's the difficult time, is when you get that high, it's hard to beat that number.
Yeah.
So will it do as well or roughly the same? Yeah, you're probably right. But you also have to think about a couple years later, more 3D shows, higher ticket prices. So
I know it's entirely possible. I'm just saying that, like, there's no doubt in my mind when Cap 3 comes out, it will make more money than Cap 2. Like, no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, probably will.
The only one that I question is Avengers.
Well, Ant-Man is now the one that everyone's looking at because there's been a lot of problems with the production of that movie.
Yeah, but the problem is even bad movies just based on it's a Marvel movie, which I do feel if Guardians of the Galaxy came out pre-Avengers, if it was like the movie they put out before Avengers, there's no doubt in my mind Guardians would not have pulled in the box office that it did.
Well,
now.
Post-Avengers, these movies have gone to another level.
But what I mean is now Marvel Studio, I believe, brings in people beyond just... It's become the franchise. It's the Marvel movie franchise more than it is the Captain America franchise or the Thor franchise.
Right.
You get a certain amount of box office. So I hate to say it, but I kind of feel like Ant-Man will bring in the numbers regardless of how good or bad it is. It's just a question of how will the audience respond. It's sort of like you can't call Spider-Man 3 a failure in terms of box office because it did massively great in the box office, even though it got killed in terms of sort of critical reception and people badmouth it left and right. Same with the list you were just saying, X-Men Last Stand.
Yeah. It was the most successful of all of them.
Exactly. But it was also the most shit-canned of all of them, basically. Yeah. So I'm not worried about whether or not Ant-Man will make money.
Yeah, is it a $300 million? Is it a $500 million? I mean, that's what we want, yeah. But...
Guardians. We're talking Guardians, people.
Yeah.
I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy, I think for around the table, a bunch of you guys expected it to do well. For me, I just thought it was going to be a good film and didn't expect it to, fucking just, shit all over everything before it. And having, a bunch of, Onion blog sites, not quite the Onion, but all these other, entertainment, pop culture sites do these fun things where J.J. Abrams now, fuck, I want to hang myself, because now fucking everybody just knows about what you can do with a sci-fi film, and it can be low tech.
Well, yeah, one of the things I said coming out of the movie was I almost don't want to see Star Wars 7 now. There's now a generation of 10-year-olds where this is their Star Wars, right?
Yeah.
This has that level. You have the lovable characters.
Sure.
You have the kind of action hero.
You have the Han Solo type. You got the furry Chewbacca type.
You got the villain. You got the dark villain with the little kind of helmet thing going on. You got the Emperor Palpatine in the background. You've got
your
all
Luke
those
Skywalker and Leia.
He was in his little concentration chamber too, but it was really nasty. All that blood all over him and shit from all the Xanadarians and shit. But damn.
Well, so I guess the easiest way to always go through this is to rank this versus other Marvel movies and versus the other stuff to kind of get an idea of where this is for everyone. For me, if you go comic movies, I think there are 5 movies that have specifically defined the world of the comic book movie that we live in now. You have Superman the Motion Picture, which started everything. You have the serials and the black and whites and stuff prior to that, but Superman the Motion Picture is where it all starts. You have Batman, which brought in the box office. Superman was big, but Batman was another level. That was just the craziest thing. Like it or hate it, the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie proved that we now have the effects to pull this off. X-Men wasn't quite there yet. X-Men was good, but it didn't quite hit the mark yet. It wasn't until the Raimi Spider-Man that they proved now we have the effects to make these look good. To me, the next two are Dark Knight and Avengers. Dark Knight being...
I thought we were doing Marvel movies,
Well,
buddy.
I'm just saying in general. I'm saying Dark Knight is... you can have a film, an Academy Award-nominated film for Best Picture of the Year that just happens to be about a comic book character, right? And that doesn't have to be some fun summer popcorn movie. Dark Knight is... It's
kind of like the Sandman.
Hard, right?
It brings more of a... It's more of a cinematic. Where Sandman brought literary to comic books. This Batman Dark Knight brings, cinematic, Academy levels to movies.
And then Avengers being... does this multi-year-long gamble pay off? Can we have characters cross over and have it succeed? Well, obviously, it succeeded more than anyone could have ever expected. Those 5 movies, to me, will go down in history as the 5 definitive movies for every comic movie going forward. Does Guardians break that? No. Does it mean it's a bad movie? Absolutely not. It is an incredible movie. It is so much fun. Avengers, to me, is hard to top because of what it has done to the comic industry, the comic book film industry, to Marvel, to Disney. Avengers...
We wouldn't have had a Guardians if it wasn't for Avengers' success.
Right.
Period.
Right. Whether you like movies more, I think Avengers is very difficult to beat that top spot, at least for me. But if you go down from that, I'm going to still give Cap 2 my number 2 spot, because Winter Soldier, to me, blew me away. I can't wait for it to come out on Blu-ray. It's out in like a month, I think, because I was so surprised with how good. I maybe just because I liked Cap 1, but I didn't love it. I mean, I liked it. It was good. But to me, Cap 2, they brought it with Winter Soldier.
They got through the origin story. They got through Man Through Time.
Right.
Now let's fucking show them kick some ass deal with some ops, some black ops.
Winter Soldier brought that. It had that, kind of a feeling of the Brubaker stuff that we love so much, that espionage kind of, Cap's not sitting there punching Hitler in the face, which was the first,
But I'm going to... But Guardians is, I think... with the possible exception of Iron Man, the strongest first movie that they've done. Guardians, to me, is right there. If I'm going to call it tied to number 2, number 3 spot for the Marvel Cinematic Movie, Guardians did everything right that it could have done. It was funny as hell. It was the funniest of all the movies, by far. I mean, it was borderline a comedy. It was so funny, so well done, great effects. It's sci-fi. It feels different than the other Marvel movies, but it still has those core elements. It still has... the Infinity Stones, Thanos elements,
the Infinity things,
elements we're aware of.
Stones.
Yeah.
Well, one of them's not a stone.
I
It's
don't
liquid.
care.
It's what they call
a stone.
That's what
And it's
they
okay.
call
The
them.
colors can be different because just get away from yourself. The power does not have to mean it's red. It can be purple.
Right. So for the comic fans, this was. I mean, there's so, and we'll talk about all the crazy crap in it. I mean, there's so much in here to go for. If you like science fiction, it's the best. It's the best science fiction movie I've seen since since Return of the Jedi. I mean, it is so much fun. I mean, it's like outer spacey sci-fi.
Yeah, I'm like trying to.
I love Star Trek movies.
I'm like,
but I would put this up over both of the Abrams Star Trek movies, which I mean, I love the first one especially. It is. This movie just felt so right, and everything about it. Everything about it was great.
I don't know. For me, sci-fi wise, if you say like sci-fi, I still think like the episode 1, 2, and 3. The experience of looking at something visually and what you see and feeling like you're in space, like in a sci-fi world. Of course, we're not talking like Gravity. We're not talking about Sandra Bullock real world physics. Well, actually, not real world physics, because all those people say that wouldn't happen. You can't have explosions in space. I would still go with like the episode 1, 2, and 3 from a sci-fi experience, but
like Star Wars episodes 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, I mean, just from a sci-fi standpoint, I mean, still they have, though they were shitty films, they still were incredible sci-fi like cinematic experiences. Shit was like fine art. Every panel, like you looking at shit, like you look at the movies, and it's
the
like
story out and just look at the thing, and it's beautiful.
It's okay.
Yeah. Anyways, did we ever get to your top? Are you gonna finish with your top 5 Marvel or top 3 Marvel?
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that if you go through the list, Avengers to me, it's difficult to be Winter Soldier is
number 2.
Again, out of nowhere, a surprise number 2 for me. So I'll put Guardians either tied for 2 or 3. Yeah, I loved it. And we'll talk more plot stuff as we go, but go around and give me your ranking. Give me what your general thoughts.
I guess for me, I mean, top. I mean, I would put Avengers at the top. I mean, I would have to say again, I mean, for me, Cap and Guardians are probably tied for second place, just because they're two different styles of movies. I mean, you have the espionage kind of spyish Cap, which they did an amazing job on, and you have this, Guardians of the Galaxy sci-fi that can equal this generation's Star Wars. So I mean, they both bring so much to the table in their own kind of way. So I mean, yeah. And then I guess for 4 and 5, I'd have to go with probably Iron Man is number 4, and then possibly just because it was just a surprise.
Well, Guardians is. Yeah, if you're putting Guardians at 3, that's...
Yeah, I mean 4 and 5, it's...
Yeah, you don't
it's a hodgepodge of, Iron Man, Thor, and the other Cap movies, so... Not Iron Man 2 or 3, but just... So.
Okay, cool. Number 1 for me, it's always going to be Iron Man. I recently watched that sizzle reel that they showed at Comic-Con, and when you watch that whole sizzle reel that Marvel put out, and this is, I think, before the Avengers 2 panel, man, that's just such an awesome editing job they did. And you kind of, it goes through and it shows piece by piece, and then, you know, with the films, and it kind of it mashes through, and they have different, like, you know, things that are said from the film, and it's just incredible, the world building that Marvel has done, and I love it. And I'm glad that, you know, it's so successful, because we can always just hope that, you know, we'll see that replicated for the rest of the comics world, be it DC, Image, Vertigo, whatever. Well, there's no more Vertigo, so DC. I'll say it again. Yeah.
Vertigo's still around?
Vertigo's
still around.
Okay, fine. Well, most of you guys know, I mean, a lot of us around the table, we're big DC guys. But when you talk about movies, it's just Marvel owns that shit. They have shown that they can make a fucking talking raccoon like the middle of, like, just something that is so enthralling and something that's so immersive, and it's so believable.
What are you talking about? A tree that only says "I am Groot"?
Fuck.
Come on, man.
Well, okay. We'll get into more. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm going off track here because I'm so fucking excited, as you can hear. Number one for me, it's still going to be Iron Man, just because I love Tony Stark. I love what he brings. I love how he just cruises around in the nicest car that's his armor and shoots people with missiles. Number two, it has to be Guardians now. I'm sold on it. I was blown away by what the whole, everyone that was part of that film did. Number three, it's still for me Thor 2, just because I see, you know, Thor as, again, a cosmic god. The way they kind of like designed and shown him in the film. He's not just like this, you know, Norse mythological god. Well, in the stories, according to some people, that's what they see, but the way it's told, it's like sci-fi and shit, and I love what they did with the Dark Elves. 3 would be, Winter Soldier. 4, probably Avengers, and then 5, I don't know, whatever, something else.
Yeah,
huh?
you doubled
your
up
order
there.
Got a little
But that's, I mean, I just wanted to know, like,
1 is Iron Man, 2 is Guardians, 3 is Winter Soldier, 4 is Avengers, 5 is whatever else.
No Thor in there?
No, Thor... Did I drop Thor 2?
Yeah, Thor 2.
Okay, Thor 2 used to be my number 2. Now it's my number 3.
Okay.
Yeah,
so
it's my number 3.
4.
Yes.
And 5 is
whatever. Just throw it in there.
Winter Soldier.
That can change.
No, 5 is Winter Soldier.
5 is Winter Soldier?
Okay, Charlie.
Whatever.
I only wanted to know where it is up to Guardians. I don't care about the rest.
So, Avengers first, Guardians second.
Although if we get really bored sometime, we can do our top 10. Since we have 10 Marvel movies now, we can do a top 10 list if we have nothing to talk about.
Or we do
it
on the forums.
Yeah, if we have nothing to talk about in a couple weeks. Sorry, go ahead, Charlie.
In general, Avengers 1, Guardians 2, but this is like a really...
Guardians 2 isn't out yet.
Yeah, Guardians 2. Because that will have like more Thanos.
So we've all had...
My basic sort of thought process on this right now is I am not 100% sure where it's going to permanently rank.
That's what I was going to ask.
A large part of that is because when I saw Thor 1 in the theaters, it was a lot lower ranked than when it came out on Blu-ray, and I found myself going, I want to go back and watch that. And I've watched Thor 1 more times than I've watched Captain America 1, even though coming out of the theaters, I would have ranked Cap above Thor, but now I rank Thor above Cap.
Yeah. My wonder was, is a bit of this just that first, opening weekend hype, or is this real? And I think watching it, I love the Marvel movies. I love Marvel comics, contrary to popular belief. I love Cap and Thor and Iron Man and Avengers, and especially Avengers has been one of my favorite comics forever. But I can't dismiss the amount that I've loved what Marvel's space guys have done in the last decade with Guardians and Nova and Annihilation and all the stuff they've done.
That stuff was amazing.
The fact that they've kind of gone in this direction, to me, I was already inclined to like this way more than I probably would have. Just any other random characters. The fact that we have the Nova Corps in it is guaranteed top 3 spot just because they're in the movie, good or bad. It's like Green Lantern, great movie, love it. I don't care if people don't like it or not because it's about Green Lantern. So
aren't you gonna be sad though? You're gonna have people wearing the little Nova Corps logo around, and now it's not just you anymore.
That's fine. No, Charlie, finish up, and then we'll talk some of our favorite parts of it.
Actually, I'm just having fun going, how many more Nova statues can you fit in your house?
Yeah, I know.
I got a lot of them.
No, actually, Charlie, I do agree with you because, when I've gone... I watched Winter Soldier twice. I saw it in the theater with you guys, and then I went and saw it with my future father-in-law and my dad. And it still retained in that second watching, like, the enjoyment of it. Avengers, I really enjoyed it that first time, and then the second time I watched it, I was like, okay, I liked it. And then when I watched it on Blu-ray, I was kind of, okay, I really, it's a good movie, good solid movie, but, like, it's something wore off. But with, like, Thor,
but it's still your number one?
It's still my number one just because of overall.
Yeah.
I mean, it might change, but that's what,
But that's where I guess the perfect ranking tends to be when I go to my DVD shelf and I'm looking through and going, I want to watch this right now. And
what would I want to watch right now? Pull 5 movies.
Really kind of sets, okay, how much should I really like this? Because if I like it as much as I seem to think I did, I should be watching this every chance I get.
Well, I guess I want to talk real briefly about some of the bigger beats of the movie. We don't have to go through the whole movie. I mean, I don't want to go plot by plot, but some of the cooler scenes for the bigger beats.
It needed more Thanos.
And then our favorite scenes, because I'm sure we each have a few of those.
It was tasty. Every time we saw him, it was so delicious.
Well, one of the things I wanted to talk about specifically, and I kind of made mention of it earlier, is they straight up have Emperor Palpatine Thanos, and I love it.
It's perfect.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, of all the Star Wars sort of homages in this movie, the Thanos as Palpatine, and I don't want to say that Ronan was Vader, it wasn't quite like that, but it was...
Dude, it was straight up Vader. He was in his little fucking, what is it called? His meditation tank chamber, Sure, he wasn't sitting down. He wasn't breathing all hard. But, dude, he was, like, lying down all naked. And he had his, like, coming to America moment where he had all these, like, handmaidens, like, preparing him on a daily basis. Ronan is a G.
I still can't believe that's Lee Pace. Like, my brain still can't process that.
Yeah, he's Guy, but I don't know.
It was a body double, though, right? Because he didn't get that big, right?
I have no clue, but, like...
What has he been in?
Pushing Daisies and Hobbit and...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was incredible.
Things.
Well, I thought it was awesome that... I mean, it's Josh Brolin who's Thanos, but he's uncredited in the movie.
Yeah, well, they announced him during Comic-Con as being Thanos, but I don't...
He's not credited in the film.
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't.
Because I was looking, I was like, I think it's Josh Brolin. And Thanos' name never popped up in the credits. So, and then I looked up at IMDb, and he's uncredited for it, but he'll probably get credited for it after the Avengers movie comes out.
Yeah.
Well, they confirmed he's not going to be in Avengers 2 at all, so I wonder if we're going to get Guardians 2 will kind of more directly involve him.
I'm actually wondering if Guardians 2 and maybe a Thor 3.
Yeah.
Because I do feel like the remaining Infinity Stones and setting some more of that groundwork needs 2 movies, not just 1.
Well, we talked about the Stones. Obviously they're changing up what they're doing with this stuff. And this is actually gonna go into not only one of my favorite parts of the movie, but also potential future plots that they could delve on here. So we have the Tesseract, which is the space gem, as far as I can tell, because that seems to be what it does.
I wasn't sure because that
there may not be one-to-one
the whole
equivalence.
Idea of basically powering Loki's staff and everything made that seem like it could be the mind gem.
Now, here's a question. There is conflicting info that I've seen from people that Loki's staff actually has a completely different gem in it. Some people said it had. Some people said that it is or has a different gem in it. Some people said it was just powered by the Tesseract, but the Tesseract turned the gem on. I'm not. Some people say there's 4 been revealed. Some have been 3 because we have the Tesseract, we have the sphere in this one, we have which is straight up just called an Infinity Stone. Like they didn't. Oh, and by the way, awesome scenes. The fucking Celestials in this movie.
Oh my god!
Who I never like. They go so crazy Marvel deep in this movie.
Yeah.
Like if you don't know the Celestials, they're these big kind of gods that roam.
Speaking of space gods.
that roam and they're creators of the universe and all this stuff, and they're larger than planets and they deal out random
this
justice.
is just going, if you know who Galactus is, you get an idea of what a baby Celestial might look like.
Yeah, exactly. But so we have the Tesseract, we have the Ether from Thor 2, and we have this. We possibly have Loki's staff, and again, I can't see this being anything but the power gem. But then the Ether feels like the power gem too. So it's like I don't think there's a direct one-to-one correlation.
I thought the Ether was probably the space gem.
See, because it's hard. I just don't think there's going to be
for me,
it's just weird.
Yeah. The Tesseract feels like the space gem.
Because I thought the Tesseract was more about the transporting.
Yeah, the transporting. The ether feels like the power gem. Because
they said directly that the power gem was the purple one.
I don't think they said that.
Yeah, it was in an interview with James Gunn. It was
because the only thing is because the thing with the purple one is that there's a lot of power, but the purple's the soul one. So
no, man, the soul gem we haven't seen yet. That's going back to what Ryan wants to see, which is that cocoon in the body in the back, and hopefully Adam Warlock coming out of it.
Well, no, I will take first stab at, I guess, I shouldn't say my favorite. Well, no, I'll give you my favorite scene here because it actually ties into what's going on here. So I love the Nova. I love Nova Corps. I love Novas and everything with Novas in them. And everything with stars in them, too.
Okay, that's your second favorite.
All my favorite characters.
Your first favorite? You were one of your first...
Starman and Star.
You really like that new Nova series?
Well, everything about that. So... When they introduced the Nova Corps in this, I realized, okay, they're going a little bit different, especially the guys in the prison.
Yeah.
They were kind of going out they were kind of being punks. They were kind of going out like bitches. But I'm like, okay, well, see where they go with this. Because people, I've used the example myself that the Nova Corps is like the Green Lantern Corps. They're not really. The Nova Corps are mostly Zendarians, so they kind of protect their own planet. But they're like a big intergalactic space
police
race.
Force, yeah.
Like, well, no. Kind of, but
it's not exactly like the Green Lantern Corps.
The Green Lantern,
but it's similar.
I see them like the Shadow Proclamation from Doctor Who.
They're the
way to break it down, son. Way to break it down.
The way the Nova Corps are in the comics. A lot of them, or most of them, are Zendarians. So they're from their own planet. They protect their own planet. They just have a giant. They're like the Kree or the Shi'ar or the Skrulls. They have this giant space, empire, right? So they are kind of the generic space police in the Marvel universe, or they were at least. But a lot of them are not Zendarians, but most of them are. And not like the Green Lantern Corps, where they're like, we're going to pick one person or two people from each sector and have them protect their sector. It's a very different. It's a different take, but it has kind of the same outcome. But with this, realizing that they are in fact entirely Zendarians, or at least seemingly entirely Zendarians, and they don't have like that big kind of intergalactic race. It feels like the war in this movie between kind of this peace treaty between the Kree and the Zendarians is not. I mean, the Kree again don't come off as we rule like a third of the universe. They don't really seem. We don't get the sphere of how powerful they are, right? Not in this movie yet, but. When the Nova Corps gets it together at the end, and they form like that big
shield.
Well, what do they call it in Star Trek? It's totally the
the web.
The Tholian web, right? They formed their big Tholian web around the ship. That's when I'm like, all right, here we go. Okay, cool. And then the Nova Corps is kicking some ass. When they get to the end, though, and they give Nova Prime the gem, that's when I'm like. Now, that's fucking world mind. That's their power source. Now they're going to be the big, giant space police. This is where their power comes from. So at the end of the movie, when the Nova Corps get that gem, that, to me...
you finally see some helmets. And
that has to be where this is going. Because why would they give it to them otherwise? Right? I mean, to me, that feels like you could have them be in Guardians 2. You could maybe have a little solo Nova movie.
Well, they had what's his name playing?
Yeah, I forget the character's name,
Day.
but John C. Reilly's character
is Ronan Day.
Ronan Day.
Very
Roman
different.
Roman Day.
It's like Ronanan or something like that. It's a very different take on the character, but he's
the one that gives Rich Rider the helmet.
He's the Abin Sur to Rich Rider, right? So he's the one he's like one of the last surviving ones and gives fights this big great battle and gives Rich the helmet to become Nova. So. It's possible they could go in that direction. I doubt it, but it's possible. But I just have to believe that that's where they're going, that this is what powers the Nova Corps, that makes them these great, they all have powers and yada, yada, yada. So
that's why they're calling it the Power Gem, because it's going to power the Nova Corps. if that's why they call it the Power Gem, if that's why it's the Power Gem, then I'll go with it.
So
I'm just having the fun of going, okay, if they do that, then one of these movies is going to start out with Thanos just tearing the Nova Corps a new one to get that gem.
Well, right now we have the Collector has the Ether. Loki
has
the Tesseract.
He doesn't have it.
Oh, well, of course he does.
Okay, here's the thing. At the end of the Thor movie, the Collector makes it sound like he already had one before he got the ether.
So he may have another.
He made some sort of like comment of 2 down.
And Loki has 1, down. If not 2, because Loki posing as Odin has the Tesseract, and if Loki's staff is also another one, then he has 2. Otherwise, he at least has the Tesseract.
Yeah.
So that's where 4, possibly 5 of them are. So, but you guys, I'm sure, got some favorite parts or big scenes for you guys. So. I just want to get the Nova stuff out of the way because I love Nova.
Get the Nova stuff out.
That's okay. I'm already looking ahead till I don't care if it's Avengers 3 or where it shows up, but I'm waiting for them to start soliciting prop replicas of the Infinity Gauntlet that I can buy for way too much money through previews.
We're going to get some merchandising, okay? Hold on.
I'm waiting for the Gauntlet.
Merchandising.
In Mel Brooks' voice.
And a really, 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 really good quality one.
The Spaceballs flamethrower. Go ahead.
I mean, I guess for me, there wasn't one scene alone that was my absolute favorite, but it was, I think, just overall the interaction of, Star-Lord and Gamora and Drax and Groot and Rocket. Just, it was so well done. And it put me right back into reading, that 25-issue run of Dan Abnett and Andy Lanning's. Mm-hmm. So it's like every scene that I'm watching is amazing. And it's, the little nuances and stuff. Like, I want that guy's leg. I got the leg. Well, I didn't need it. I just wanted to... Like, like stuff like that. And it's to me, the interaction between the team was what really made sense in that movie.
Well,
Drax... really, to me, maybe not the best character, but was the one that I was had gone from the least interested to the most surprised. Mm-hmm. He was so good.
I mean, they did a fair job taking kind of he's stupid and mindless, and then he dies and becomes smarter and stuff like that to a little bit more of a well-rounded character in this. That's not necessarily you have to believe he can come back from the dead.
They did something in this movie that I think is incredibly, incredibly hard. And that's come up with a believable way where a group of loners, people who have no reason to kind of bond
it's
and
the
get
money,
together,
man.
And by the end of the movie, it's completely and totally believable that they'd march into battle again.
We've seen this movie before. It's called The Goonies. Okay? It's called The Goonies.
This is our Star Wars
wasn't
Goonies?
A bunch of loners.
Yeah, there were a bunch of loners and losers and idiots and nerds, outcasts.
But they were already... Okay.
But,
Agree
so they were
disagree.
banded. If we watch the prequel to Goonies where they all meet and everything, then that would be Guardians.
Yes, maybe. But
the whole...
I'm just saying that... At the beginning of the movie, because they're all loners, they have really no reason, except for Rocket and Groot.
Yes.
They have no reason to be working together. They have no reason to... they all have their own singular purposes that don't necessarily mesh with other people's singular purposes, yet somehow, some way, they wrote the script in just the right way to set the right tones, to forge the right relationships, that by the end of the movie, it's completely perfect that they're all together.
Not only that, I like the way they were able to take kind of deviations from the scene and have sort of, I feel, fairly not shoved down your throat kind of character building motivation scenes where you get Groot giving the girl you kind of first see him being nice when he releases all we've seen this stuff in the trailer but releasing all the lights and giving the girl the flower. Rocket, when you see the back, you see his back's all tore up, and he's talking about he doesn't want to be he's all drunk and talking about doesn't want to be alive. Drax may be a little more up front, just being like, oh, my whole family was killed, but
nothing goes over my head.
But
his reflexes are too fast. Of course.
Yeah, but all these scenes to me, none of them felt particularly forced. I mean, you get all of Star-Lord's opening, which again didn't feel. It felt accurate. It felt well done. It didn't feel weirdly forced or anything.
They did a very, very good job for sort of like the long-running gags that would pay off later in the movie.
Oh yeah.
They did a very good job.
Can I also?
What was your favorite moment again? I forget already.
It's just the team. Like,
okay. So there wasn't one particular.
No, it was because it was like seeing the team in the prison and them coming together. It was them sitting in a circle arguing.
That's a moment, right?
I know.
That's a time.
And Groot goes, at least it's not. I am Groot. What do you mean it's not? It's better than 11%, right?
I do know Omar's favorite scene though.
What's my favorite scene?
The 3 dick jokes and the cum joke. Those are your favorites.
Actually, they were pretty high up there. Okay, but they did it in a very artsy way. They referred to like some pop culture art.
Jackson Pollock.
Yes, I mean, and it wasn't even so much the punchline, the gag. But it's the delivery. Yeah. And I think of that's really with the whole film. It was the delivery. There was a soul to it. There was heart to it. And again, so believable. Like, everybody said.
No, okay. I'll interject. Probably one of my favorite scenes was at the end when Star-Lord just starts fucking dancing.
That was fucking cool, the dance
because I was literally sitting there going, what the fuck is going on here? And it was literally like what Ronan was doing.
Perfect scene that could have been stupid.
Yeah.
Right? But it was just like, it just was stupid enough to be funny as hell.
No, it was the delivery. It was that line that he said at the end. He's like, it's just to distract. Like, the way he said that line, and then you're like, what? And then it's like...
Yeah, dude, he left Earth before the Running Man. Like, that didn't make any sense to me, but whatever.
He can always come back. I mean,
yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Well, I like when he gave it. He's like, going on that scene. I'm thinking like, when he did the wave to. Yeah. Come on, help me out, Gamora. Gamora's like, huh? Okay, bring it back. I'm gonna bring it back.
Well, there's a scene that again, he must have visited Earth or at least intercepted some internet transmissions recently because. A scene I saw people mention. We actually watched this little video of like, things, little scenes, Easter eggs and stuff for the movie. But one of the funnier scenes I thought was, what does he give Yondo?
Yeah,
he gives him that troll doll, right?
Yeah.
He trolled him.
Yeah, well, right? I mean, okay, modernized storytelling, right?
Right.
But for the most part, everything that he has is a keepsake from his youth,
of course.
The 80s.
But that to me is a scene that it's like it works if you know what the doll is. If you don't, it's like
no. But Yondo actually had one of those troll dolls on his armchair where he put that little thing that he took from.
No, he had a collection of trinkets. He was like a total he was like an Asian fob that has all his little fucking Hello Kitties bobbleheads on his car.
How was it a troll doll?
No, it wasn't a troll.
There was one.
No, they were all the things he got from from that guy. But to me, it's like it is a humorous reference that, especially for people our age that grew up in the 80s, that we know what all these things he has is, right? Because he was probably 10 in 88, so he's roughly the same age we all are, right?
Yeah.
So it was, was he 10 or 12 or whatever on that opening scene? So, again,
he calls those guys Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
That was
fucking great.
Okay, for me, the best fucking scene, it was a whole sequence where they were nowhere and they're like, fuck, what are we gonna do? And then it just goes boom right into them like gambling and shit. They're like, oh yeah, and you can see that they've had a few drinks. Like Rocket's all like belligerent, and then Drax is like all, oh fuck this, I'm a winner all the time, I win everything. And then cutting out to there, the best part that led up to it is when he fucking walked out stumbling from a bar. All of us, Ryan Hess, Josh Redding, we know that feeling, right? You walk out of a bar and you're like, fuck, what do I do? You get on your cell phone. Bad move. Do not get on the cell phone and call your mortal enemy. That's going to kick your fucking ass. He fucking drunk dialed Ronan. That was for me. I was crying. I was like, holy shit. I fucking get it. And I was like, dude, this moment for me was like, this put me over. Like, I almost want to make it number one for me. But again, no one's a bigger asshole than Tony Stark. So he has to keep that spot.
What's funny is when they went to the bar, my brain instinctively went, oh, cantina scene, right? That's where they're going with this.
Yeah.
But they didn't.
No.
And I think that was actually really smart because I think at that point that would have been just too on the nose. It would have been too like, okay, well, clearly we have to have the cantina scene. But I actually liked that they didn't. And, we get... some people said various other aliens were seen in the movie. I know there's some theories of things going on in the collector's room. We'll save that for the very end. But I like that they didn't go there because they actually had an important scene there, and I thought that was better.
Did any of you kind of get the feeling that you were actually seeing Womp Rats for the first time when he was at the opening, when he's like kicking him and then picks one up and uses it as a mic? Like I literally looked at scene.
Awesome.
I'm like, I see these things going around. I'm like, Womp Rats. We're getting Womp Rats. Like, because in Star Wars they talked about them, but we never saw them. And then when they remastered them, it's like, oh, here's some Womp Rats, and it was kind of like that's a major line from that movie, and yet here he's just like kicking it and fucking using one as a microphone, and I don't know. I liked it.
So Charlie,
intelligent storytelling.
If you had give us some love. What's your favorite scene, or what do you like the most? Something worked well for you.
Well, obviously, I really liked the Thanos scene just because I'm a big fan of Thanos. But yeah, imagine that.
Actually, hold on. I'm sorry. I actually was surprised they kind of went back to that like little room in space scene. Like they just directly that scene always
to reuse.
That scene always felt a little weird to me. Like, do you know when, like, the way they have, it's a little box room, but it's supposed to be like all this space. I don't know. That scene always felt a little strange. I feel weird that they kept them in that same sort of setup. But whatever.
That's okay. He's awesome.
Yeah.
No, there were a lot of really, really good scenes. I love this scene in the bar when Rocket's just completely losing it. That was great. I also really liked the scene when they're attacking Ronan on his ship and they finally get in there, and it's like the whole idea of throwing everything at him and it just not quite working, and I thought the way they handled all that was really good.
Oh, come on. Groot with the alien, like, thump, 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 and everyone's just standing there watching going,
well, again,
fuck.
They did.
Well, this is the thing that amuses me about talking about, like, how amazing it is that people got attached to Groot and Rocket. I'm like, anybody who's ever read them in a comic has gotten attached to Groot and Rocket. So all it means is they did it right.
Yeah. Well, that scene is how you know they have people with real great comedic backgrounds working, because they could have Family Guy'd that scene and have it just go on way too long. That scene with the Groot where he's smashing all the aliens, perfect length. Like, it's like he does it. They cut back.
No,
they cut back.
He does it. He comes back and he has this big ass grin on his face.
They do like a perfect like 3-take where it's like they cut to them, they cut back to him, and he stops. It's like perfect. That's all you need. Then you get the big smile. It's like perfectly set up, perfect timing. Yeah, great.
Yeah, no, the timing with Groot was amazing, especially like when going back to like the discussion around the panel. He's like, Groot's the only one that understands, blah blah, and he goes and he starts eating something off of himself.
But, on Twitter,
and I liked him drinking the water fountain.
That was hilarious. Yeah, just like any dog, right? Dumb dog that you have.
On Twitter and all the social media sites. I mean, obviously everyone was like, "Oh, Rocket's going to steal the show. Rocket's going to steal the show." Groot is almost always the subject matter. People, I think, took to Groot way more than they thought they were going to, because Groot is always what's brought up.
I think, honestly, part of that is the fact that so much attention has been on Rocket in terms of the build-up for the movie and everything, that Groot is everybody kind of went in there already liking Rocket, expecting great things from Rocket, but then Groot just kind of stepped up and went, well, I'm just as good.
I am Groot.
Let's talk... We're clocking in about an hour here, so we got one or two more things to talk about.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, this is going to be a long
This is ridiculous.
Well, we got a couple more things to say about Guardians before we wrap up this episode. But let's talk a few cameos here, because there were a few awesome cameos in this movie.
Yeah.
We saw Thanos, obviously. We didn't even say like a single thing about Nebula. I thought she was a little underused. I don't think they really went far enough. But again, they could be saving her for.
This was a little problem I had with Nebula and Gamora in kind of how...
I thought Gamora was fine.
I think their backstories were... Knowing that there's going to be another film before coming in, it was a little bit more okay. But I thought that it was kind of like they were kind of the same backstory, and it was just, she went this way and she went this way, but we didn't really get kind of what teetered one towards one way and one.
Well, we did. Thanos said, "That's my fucking favorite," and you fucking it's your fault.
And then
fuck you, Ronan.
And then he rips the hell out of what's her face?
But the thing is,
Nebula
I think that
screws her all up. So.
There's potential to build more, especially there's potential to build more with all of the characters. So seeing what they gave us was fine.
Yeah.
I kind of expected
Nebula needed there was some like Nebula I wanted to see a little bit more of, but
going in I expected Nebula to be like a sidekick throwaway, whether they say anything about Thanos. Now I actually expect her to be a really big part of the upcoming movies, and I think she's going to be way more important. I think that's probably why they held her back in this movie.
She did a good job with the casting.
Yeah. I think she's going to be she should be, especially if it's Infinity Gauntlet. I mean, I don't want to spoil if you haven't read this, but she basically is the one that stops Thanos at the end. So if that's where they're going with this and they want to stay true to the comics, she's going to be a huge part of Avengers 3. But maybe that's why they kind of downplayed her a little bit in this movie. But cameo-wise, there's two huge ones. One huge one for Guardians fans, one huge ones for... who knows who?
Weirdo.
First we had Cosmo.
Yeah,
which was
fucking great.
Awesome.
Dude, I saw Cosmo, I was like...
You could tell there were about 6 people in the theater. Me, Brock, I think Charlie, and like 2 or 3 other people were like, it's Cosmo! So that's the dog.
I spent way too much time just going, please talk. Please talk.
Yeah, don't worry, I was doing it too.
So Cosmo's from the I know, I don't remember if he's actually supposed to be from anything prior to the more recent Guardians stuff.
I don't think so. I think it was something that Abbott and Lanning put in.
I don't think he was like Rocket and Groot and these characters had existed. And they were these minor characters from years ago. But I don't think Cosmo was. I could be wrong about that. But yeah. So he's the head of Nowhere in the comics, and is this really smart, awesome talking dog that kicks a whole lot of ass.
Talk.
Or he it's telepathy. Yeah.
Just like we.
Yeah.
I wanted him to talk,
but that was great.
That was huge.
But the big one everyone's talking about is the post-credit scene here. So really big spoilers if this is a thing for you. I was actually spoiled earlier in the day from a suggested post from Facebook. So fuck you, Mark Zuckerberg and Facebook. I'm just like,
honestly?
I wasn't clicking anything. I wasn't reading anything. I'm just scrolling through, and it's like, oh, you may like this article. Howard the Duck in Guardians of the Galaxy after credits scene. Fuck you, Facebook.
I got very, very lucky because I noticed something online where like one article or something was talking about Howard the Duck, and like my mind kind of went, why the fuck are they talking about Howard the Duck? And then I just moved on.
Yeah.
No, yeah. I was actually really good at like I was scrolling through and there's people like, oh, end credit. Who's at the end credit? I'm like, oh, skip. And I didn't really pay any attention. I went on lockdown like you. So when I saw your tweet about fuck you internet or whatever, I was like, why are you even on the internet?
That's what my reaction was when he was complaining.
I thought you were on lockdown.
This was me on my friends list on Facebook, just people that had no one seen the movie.
Why were you on Facebook?
I just did because I checked the thing. It's just like
you're a junkie. You're a junkie. We need an intervention.
Well, if you saw my post on Twitter, then how did you see that?
I avoided everything else. I just nope. I
wasn't looking.
I saw GUA. It was skipped it.
It was literally the picture. It was like a camera picture of Howard on the when I loaded up Facebook, just loaded there as a suggested article. It wasn't a site I liked or anything. I was like, but that aside, that was hilarious.
Yeah, that was funny. The fact that they were both like having like what appears to be like an alien version of a Bloody Mary.
Yeah,
they're like hungover, from the fucking all the rockets that took place in there.
No, they're not hungover. They're like, fuck, that just happened.
Well, so the meta commentary here for people that don't know is Steve Gerber created Howard the Duck back in the 70s as sort of this like social commentary both on Marvel and Disney and animation and everything like that. Became this huge hit, unknown to... They had never expected this to take off. It became really popular. Marvel got mad at him because of everything he was saying in the book, and it was way too kind of subversive, and they didn't like where...
Well, he was one of the first characters actually that broke the fourth wall.
Right, exactly. Exactly. I mean, he is like a complete like Disney kind of ripoff
straight
character,
up Donald Duck, Daffy Duck, whatever you want to call it.
Right. He's total kind of like a Mickey Donald kind of. Slash.
He wasn't a ripoff of the main thing. He was a ripoff off the secondary.
But so Disney sued Marvel. And then Marvel they ended up making the movie with Lucas, right? The shitty Howard the Duck movie. But for years, they couldn't do anything with Howard the Duck. They eventually brought him back. they could do stuff, but he had to wear pants. Like there was all this weird crap that was going on. There was always these weird legal issues with Howard the Duck. I think Gerber sued Marvel. I think he ended up getting a bunch of money from it later, but how it all kind of went down. So Steve Gerber actually died a couple years ago too, and I don't know what was kind of. I'm sure most of it was settled by the time he passed away, but we now live in a world where Disney owns both Lucas and Marvel, so it's all the same person now. So we're back to the point where they can do whatever the hell they want to do with Howard the Duck because it's all one company.
I was really surprised there was no Millennium Falcon thrown in like the background.
Well, yeah, it could have been. Well, when they announced that Fillion was going to be in it, I was like, oh, Mal Reynolds is just going to walk right by in one scene. He's just going to just completely not even acknowledge, just in the background.
I was hoping they would do that and then just credit him as something other than Malcolm Reynolds in the credits. Therefore, because as much as I am dying for more Firefly and Serenity and all that, I do not want another dime over that property in Fox's pocket at this point.
But no, I mean having Howard the Duck was just
he was the
very
Nathan
funny.
Fillion was the blue guy.
Yeah, so
Groot shoves his fingers
voice
in his nose.
He
was the voice of that guy.
It sounded nothing like him too, because I was like listening for her.
So and actually, Howard the Duck was voiced by Seth Green. So there you go.
See,
but really weird, really funny.
The Howard the Duck scene just makes me kind of wish they'd spend some time just flooding the internet with little shorts or whatnot with Howard the Duck now.
They could.
I would love that.
Oh, wait. We're going to get a short on the Guardians Blu-ray, aren't we?
I hope.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, the look of the feel of the film, too. I mean, it's just so understated. They went really low tech. I mean, it felt like a Star Trek film, like where everyone is an alien because they're colored pink, blue, yellow, or orange.
A little bit.
I mean, sure, there was some like prosthetics work in certain people or whatever. I would love that Yondu actually wasn't an archer. I love how they kind of like.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he is just straight up Merle from Walking Dead.
Yeah, he's Merle, but he's still he still has his arrow, his killer arrow
with his spin cut off. Like he was great.
Yep.
Yondu is. I can't. I again, very different take on the character. But Yondu was.
Well, it's a different
fantastic.
take on the character, but they kept the essence of the character there, right? Like Archer,
he's still badass.
Well, the thing with the Archer, so he's using an arrow. He still uses the whistle commands. It's still a whistle command.
Yeah.
He might not have a mohawk, but he's got a
fishtail mohawk.
Got a mo at least in the center of his skull.
I mean, Yondu in the comics is like Shakespearean talking,
it's
like
blue, red fin,
super archer
like
guy.
Hood.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a very different take on the character. But it was a fun interpretation. So I like what they did with him.
It was fantastic.
I liked. I mean, the colors in this movie were fantastic.
Yeah.
Like they played up the colors that they needed to play up, and they toned down colors that they needed to. For me, it was an amazing job, at least cinematically, just how they did. Because it's a plethora of colors in this film.
So I always, since we first started talking about Guardians of the Galaxy, always kind of compare it to Farscape, and I will bring up that comparison again. Primarily because one of the things that I had the expectation going into this movie, and they did not let me down at all, is the reason I always sort of point to Farscape as why I think more movie makers should look at that versus Avatar and stuff like that is the true judge of a good sci-fi movie is knowing when to use puppets, when to use animatronics, when to use makeup, when to use prosthetics to create sort of that alien world. And as long as you know when to use which, it all blends beautifully. And Guardians had that hands down. You had nice, good close-ups that didn't need too much CGI work. You had very good CGI work with like Rocket and stuff. So I was very, very, very pleased with their choices on when to use what.
So it sounds to me from you, it's ancient astronaut theorist approved.
Yes.
All right.
Well, we got a couple of Guardians questions, so I figure.
Well, are we going to do our merchandise once out of this?
Oh,
at the end.
I mean,
after the questions.
No, that's fine. The only merch I want is a dancing Groot.
Okay.
Groot flower
Speaking
pot.
of which, the dancing. Do you remember from the '80s, early '80s, the dancing tree, the dancing band? That was a big deal, dude. They were so smart, and they placed all that shit.
It was
in there.
the big one's like the sunflower.
Yeah, and it plays the music and it stops.
Yeah.
And it plays the music and it stops whenever you stop the music. And it totally that whole sequence, dude. That was like the whole. It was just like a straight up like '80s nostalgia.
Yeah.
But I want one of those Groot things, and I know that my fiance wanted a Groot plush, and I believe I heard a woman say she would like a life-size or body pillow-sized Groot plush.
Oh, I'm sure they'll do.
Your friend,
like that.
Your friend would want that, or
it's Elizabeth that works over at Elusive.
Okay.
I'm sure they'll do something like that. Joe Martin on Twitter asks, "What are your thoughts on the portrayal of Thanos? Do you think he'll make a good end-all, be-all antagonist for Marvel Cinematic Universe?" And he's good so far. He better be good.
I mean, his build-up has been spot on and perfect. I mean, from the little tease we got at the end of Avengers to the little bit more we got in this film. Yeah, I mean, they're doing a great job, at least tying the space stuff with the actual stuff. So we'll see.
I loved again the build up, like when they were in the jail scene and they said, "Oh yeah," and then we got the daughter. Oh, we got Gamora, and who's now they're both working with Ronan, and then it shows Thanos, and it's like unpictured. I'm like, oh shit, are we gonna see Thanos? We better see Thanos. Fuck.
Yeah. I'll be curious where they go with Thanos because he's a big character, and you can't cameo him in every movie. So,
well, he was beyond a cameo, and I mean, this movie, So.
Yeah. But you have to build. You have to do something. I don't think they're just going to drop him in Avengers 3 as being this big threat. He has to start Avengers 3 as a threat.
I think they're going to establish. As I said, I'm picturing Thor 3 and Guardians 2 having.
Yeah.
I can't say for sure exactly what they're going to do, but I'm totally thinking at the end of Thor 3, the after credits scene is going to be Thanos basically just mowing through a bunch of Asgardians to go get the...
This actually goes perfectly well with this question here from Jason C. And my question first is, we're getting Guardians 2 before Thor 3, apparently, because I don't think there's been any... I mean, there's still a few dates that are open between... Cap 3 and Guardians 2. I think there's a date, so that could be Thor 3. But Jason on Twitter says, where can a Guardians sequel go? What comic-related story could he be, James Gunn base it on?
They already titled it War of Kings.
No, that is total bullshit. That post you saw, people have been putting this thing around all over the place. Total fake. Everything above that is fake.
Yeah, it had Civil War in it, too.
Yeah, everything is fake. The only thing that is official, Ant-Man, Avengers, Age of Ultron, and then they announced the date for Captain America 3 and the date for Guardians 2. Nothing else is official. No titles, no nothing. There is no Doctor Strange movie. There is no Thor 3. There is no Black Panther. All bullshit. I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I'm just saying as of right now, all bullshit. There's a post. I know exactly what you're talking about. There's a post that gives all the titles and everything. All bullshit.
Yeah, that was like before. That was like on Thursday, I think.
Yeah,
before Comic-Con.
Yeah, all bullshit.
I'm thinking, in terms of story arcs, War of Kings would be a good one. But even then, I don't see them.
It's going to be Thanos. So that's the problem. I mean, I'm with you, Charlie. It has to be about Thanos because you have to build him up bigger than Palpatine.
Yeah.
I mean,
but even then, I don't see it being the Guardians versus Thanos. I think Thanos will be there. I think he will play a role in the movie, but I kind of see it being either a extended after credit scene or a other story arc that's running perpendicular to sort of like the Guardian story arc, which, I mean,
Kree Supreme Intelligence.
Which, if they do it really, really well, that movie is what's going to lead directly into Avengers 3, which might end up being that sort of, we can pull in everything. We can have the Guardians and we can have the Avengers, and that's really what the Infinity Gauntlet's supposed to be anyways, is just everybody has to sort of pull together based on that threat. So I completely see it going that way. But I mean, I'm sorry, if the Guardians get in Thanos' way at this point, especially after he gets a couple of those Infinity Gems, they're not really a threat to Thanos at this point.
Well, it could be. I mean, they're already setting up the Kree. We're setting up the Nova Corps.
That's actually why I'm wondering if they might go like the Kree Skrull War or something like that.
I mean, they could
some variation on it.
There might be. I mean, Annihilation. I mean, there could be some.
Yeah, well, no, but you have to set up the negative zone, and you.
But Annihilation is also Ultron, which they're not going to deal. Or
Conquest was Ultron.
Sorry, not Ultron. What's his face?
Annihilus.
Annihilus, who's a Fantastic Four villain. Yeah. So they can't.
That's what I was saying. I don't necessarily see.
And then the next Annihilation, Conquest, was Ultron, and they're not going to. I doubt they're going to do that so soon. So.
Yeah. So I'm I'm leaning towards the Kree-Skrull War just because, as you said, if you...
Probably won't be Skrulls again, but a Kree Operation Galactic Storm or something in that similar fashion.
Basically,
right.
Because they're building up, as you said, the Nova Corps in this. They established the Kree very well as another galactic power.
Yeah, I mean,
you could do the Chitauri, you could do...
What they'll probably do is they'll probably take aspects of that and mesh it with War of Kings.
Well, it could be Kree-Skrull, just replace the Chitauri with the Skrulls.
Yeah.
And there you go.
Yeah, or they can just go Infinity and just have Thanos fucking introduce the Black Order and fucking come around every planet and ask for a tribute and just destroys Zanshi.
Would that be Avengers 3?
But that's...
Yeah, I guess so.
To me, this is where you get into the... If they do a Thor 3, I'm totally expecting there to be a scene, whether or not it's the after credit scene or just towards the end of the movie, of Thanos basically just demolishing Asgard to get to the Tesseract, to get that Infinity Gem. Within Guardians, you could have him go... basically take the gems from the collector if he still has them, or go collect them, because you have to have that scene where he basically marches through the entire Nova Corps and whatnot.
Didn't we have the gauntlet in Thor 1 as it was removed?
In the background. So again, he needed to go retrieve the gauntlet, retrieve the Tesseract, go to the Nova Corps, march through that. Like, that's kind of what I'm expecting to set him up to be this huge powerhouse, is you build up these forces that, I'm sorry, at this point, after you get into Dark World and all that, and you establish just how powerful the various Asgardians are and that kind of stuff, having a single Titan, as it were, being able to basically land there, demolish all their defenses, and walk right into the most heavily secured part to retrieve his property, will do a very good job. And the nifty thing about this, very sort of similar to what you get with a lot of the Jeff Johns stories, is he was already that powerful before getting his hands on the stones. So you sort of set it up as though he's already powerful enough to be a major threat to the Avengers or anybody else. And now he has the stones that gives him infinite power.
Sure. Well, I mean, that's a big part of like fucking the Infinity Gauntlet story is his nihilism is like his end point, because he fucking says, oh fuck, I don't even need the gauntlet to fucking destroy you guys. Let me just fucking take you guys with my bare hands.
Now, why do we think they're going to take on the death aspect?
I mean, they haven't mentioned it, so they could, but I doubt it.
Okay.
I mean, maybe. I think a lot of this is just going to have to be the characterization and all the stuff is Avengers 3. I mean, you may get some build up prior, but I just don't know what they're going to do prior to that. So
give us Warlock.
In a weird way, it would also work very, very well for some of the build up if they sort of took the movies where it's appropriate to show him getting the gems. Is kind of my thought process on it.
Right. Well, there could be a whole. They could just make a fucking Thanos movie where it's like Thanos is going around beating people down and then continue to Avengers 3 when they fight him.
That would be insane. I'm just totally thinking about them like having these little Easter eggs in all the movies and then having the movie that combines the Easter eggs with additional scenes to kind of do the whole build up for how he got all the gems and all that.
Well, he doesn't have any yet, so
that's sort of my point.
He's kind of sucking ass so far.
Yeah.
If he starts rounding up the gems in after credit scenes, then they announce a movie that kind of fills in the rest of that.
Yeah,
they could do it. they could do it as the Marvel shorts.
I don't know. I mean,
they're not gonna do Thanos in a Marvel.
If we're saying that Thanos is the Emperor, let's look back at Star Wars. In Star Wars, he was just like this face on an image.
Yeah.
And then Empire Strikes Back, it was the same thing. Oh, it showed him walking around with his royal guards, and then
that was this one, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So and then 3, that's when he goes fucking buck wild and shows what's up and says, "Hey, I got a new student."
No, this one was Star Wars.
Well,
the last one was just.
Sure,
the turn and the grin. So that's the cameo. This was the Star Wars appearance. So the next one that he's in is the Empire, and then the last one, which is probably the Avengers, is the.
Wait, so when is the timeline from Age of Ultron? Is that come before Thor 3?
Yeah, I mean there is no Thor 3
that doesn't
officially
even officially said.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I have a list of when the movies that have been officially announced. I mean, again, all these movies could happen, but there's only like 4 official dates so far. There's a big list of unofficial of dates that are official, but no movies tied to them.
Yeah.
And this is what completely in total, and just a sort of preview of the Comic-Con talk. I can't believe more movies were not announced.
We'll talk about that in a week. How about that? Sorry, guys. We're going to wrap up this episode. So I'm going to do some outro credits here, and then we will. We are going to take a short break. You guys are going to take a week break because we're going to record a nice long episode for all you guys here. But I got to kind of spread it out. So,
God damn.
Yeah,
30 already.
Let me wrap this up here. This episode and all our previous episodes are up at geekbox.net and comicsconspiracy.biz. You can discuss this episode on our forums at geekbox.net and the Geekbox Facebook group. Go to digital.comicsconspiracy.biz. Go buy some cheap comics. And if you're listening to this today on Monday, maybe even Tuesday, I think they're still up. All the 08 Dan Abnett and Andy Lane and Guardians books are still up for 99 cents an issue. Go buy those books. I have a feeling those are going to be on sale a lot coming up.
Yeah.
Brock's got conspiratorBrock.com, where he posts his pull list videos and all that. Omar has comicsandkind.com. Charlie's got the Infinite Long Box podcast and the Wanderers in the Fourth Dimension Doctor Who podcast. I'm on Twitter as Ryan Higgins Ryan. Brock is Brock Sager. Omar's Comics and Kind. Bryce Larson, who should be back with us in a couple weeks, is Larson Bryce. Same with Toby. Toby's Toby XI. Charlie's Insanity and Chaos. And go listen to all the other podcasts.
And aren't we on Stitcher now?
We are on Stitcher.
What is Stitcher?
Go listen to Geekbox, The Comedy Button, Good Job Brain, and our podcast for our community, All Talk, as well as All Talk watches Star Trek Enterprise, which is a separate All Talk watches podcast where they're watching all of Enterprise in order. So
they must be following Charlie's lead.
Go listen to those.
Picking shows and watching them.
Yeah, they've done Twin Peaks, they've done Fast and the Furious, and a few other shows. So now they're doing Star Trek Enterprise. However, we are also on Stitcher now. So if you use Stitcher,
what is Stitcher?
It is a podcast app. So you can it's separate from the iTunes podcast app or separate from downloading.
So you basically just download it through Stitcher onto your tablet or phone or whatever.
It's onto the Stitcher app. So they have a separate app for their own thing. So there will be a link on the show notes for this episode and all ongoing episodes for our Stitcher link. And you can, if you use Stitcher, go on there and you can rate us. Again, I always tell people rate us on iTunes. Oh, actually, I don't. I should. Rate us on iTunes.
Have we gotten any in a while?
I haven't checked in a while, but if you give us 5 stars, if we get a lot of ratings, it gets us up in the thing. More people see us, more people can watch. Same as Stitcher. Leave us a review. Leave us some ratings on there. I think you can thumbs up. Stitcher works a little bit differently than iTunes, but definitely go on there. So, all right, we're going to wrap this episode up, and hope you guys liked and saw Guardians. If you listen to this episode,
there's no timestamp. They literally
there is no timestamp. Right. So you need
to put it in the notes.
It's all spoiler talk.
You need to put it in the notes. I said there was a timestamp. Sorry, there's not.
There's no timestamp. Next week is your timestamp. So we'll catch you guys next week.